All right, so despite the attack after attack from right-wing judges, mifepristone remains safe and legal for the moment. The Supreme Court just allowed access to the abortion pill to continue while a challenge to the FDA's approval plays out, returning the case to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, meaning that the status quo for mifepristone access will likely remain in place through the fall and perhaps well into next year. And let's be clear here, anything short of preserving access to this FDA-approved drug would have set a dangerous precedent where one rogue, extremely far-right judge anywhere in this country could basically strip away access to a safe and effective medication abortion pill for millions of Americans. The fight is not over. The legal case is still pending. And extremist Republicans, especially at the state level, continue to strip women of their rights to make their own health care decisions. Now, one of the leaders that is pushing back against the GOP at the state level is Oregon Governor Tina Kotek. The Democrat just announced her state has acquired a 3-year supply of mifepristone, and she wants to make it clear to Oregon residents. Patients in Oregon will have access to the medication for years to come. I spoke with the governor exclusively just moments ago about the Supreme Court's move and her efforts to protect reproductive rights in her state. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek, thank you so much for joining us. First off, let me get your reaction to the Supreme Court's decision to maintain access to mifepristone while this challenge continues to play out.
Well, I'm glad we have a stay from the Supreme Court, but this isn't over, and states have to be prepared. Access to mifepristone is still in jeopardy, but we're glad that this stay has happened. But that doesn't mean we can step back and not be prepared, because this could change. It could go quickly back through the courts, and we could be looking at denying Americans across our country access to very basic medications.
Interestingly enough, just before this court's ruling, you announced that your state partnered with Oregon Health and Science University to secure a 3-year supply, which is about 22,500 doses of mifepristone. Talk to us about that move. What led you to do that?
Well, politics should never get in the way of having access to health care. And when we knew the Texas ruling of a rogue judge in Texas saying we shouldn't have access to this basic medication that has been proven to be effective and safe, I started to consult with the providers on the ground and talk to them across the state about what they are seeing, what they need. And they said, we need to have a supply in Oregon of mifepristone, not only for abortion, but for miscarriage management. And so we went forward and have purchased those doses, and they are now in state, and we have them, and that guarantees access to those very basic proven medications.
And that was just, that move on mifepristone is just one part of a larger effort, I understand, that you are undertaking on the broader conversation on reproductive rights in your state. You're also instructing state boards that license medical providers to clarify that Oregon, quote, supports providers in continuing to provide reproductive health care, including prescribing, dispensing, and using mifepristone, regardless of the decision in the Texas lawsuit. What are you hoping that will accomplish?
Well, I think we have to be clear. We are fighting a national agenda to restrict access to abortion. Ever since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, everything is up in the air now. So we, as state leaders, and as a governor who has been active on guaranteeing access to reproductive health care even before I became governor, we have to keep pushing hard here. So that's access to the medication, protecting the providers who I will not support non-fugitive extraditions to other states for providers who are doing their job here in our state, making sure people have access to health care. Our licensing boards need to give those directions. And one of the things that we're looking at here, we have another bill in front of the legislature here in Oregon to clarify the protections for our providers as it relates to reproductive health care. And the legislature is also considering sending to the voters here a constitutional amendment to the Oregon Constitution, protecting the right to abortion, gender-affirming care, marriage equality, on the basis of protecting people from discrimination. All of these things are essential because as a state, as these decisions have come back to the state, we have to protect individuals' freedom and their access to health care.
What is your understanding, perhaps, more broadly speaking, as a politician, what is your understanding of why Republicans are targeting and going after reproductive rights, an issue that the overwhelming majority of Americans support and access for women in this country?
Yeah, I want to reaffirm that. Americans widely support access to reproductive health care, including abortion. The U.S. Supreme Court is out of step with Americans. And honestly, from a political standpoint, I don't understand, other than to rev up your base, why you think this is something that the vast majority of Americans would be okay with. But I'm not thinking about the politics. I'm thinking about the basics of healthcare and the freedom to choose what happens to your body, what happens to your life. When individuals don't have access to basic health care, like the ability to seek out an abortion, it affects their entire lives, their economic security, their future. So for me, it's never about the politics, whether what side of the aisle you are on. It is about making sure that people have access to basic freedoms and health care. And I am never going to step back from that. That is something I believe in. That is something Oregonians believe in. And frankly, the vast majority of Americans. There is a push in the Oregon legislature by the Democrats who want to ask voters to write the right to an abortion, same-sex marriage, gender-affirming care into the state's constitution. In fact, the state Senate Majority Leader just introduced a joint resolution this week to refer to voters a proposed constitutional amendment, which would appear on ballots in November 2024. Do you support that effort? Do you think that effort will actually make its way to your desk or to the Constitution of the state? I do support sending that constitutional amendment to voters. It is our way of saying, let's guarantee the future of our state and the basic freedoms that we all believe in. The U.S. Supreme Court, particularly with the Dobbs decision, the world has changed. And so it's not enough to have protections in statute. And some of the things that we have taken for granted in Oregon were based on decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court. That is all in jeopardy and up in the air. So by putting a constitutional amendment in front of voters, we're saying, who are we as Oregonians? What do we believe in? And do we believe in a state where people have the freedom to choose their future, whatever that looks like? And that is what that constitutional amendment is about. This week marked 100 days in office for you as governor of Oregon. Can you broadly tell us about your time in office? What have you already accomplished? What are you turning your efforts to next as you look forward to the future in your state? Well, yeah, we just hit 100 days. It's been a sprint. We've been setting up the foundation on the key issues facing Oregonians. Housing and homelessness crisis in our state is a substantial problem. We want to make sure people have access to mental health and addiction treatment that they need. And I'm very concerned about our youngest Oregonians not being able to read. Our kids are behind because of the pandemic. We need to focus on the science of reading to help them get back on track. But broadly speaking, my main issues are about economic security and people being able to have access to opportunity and prosperity. That is why I care about the issue of reproductive health care and access to mifepristone. These things are all related. People don't live in one item or one issue. All these things affect people's lives. And so while I'm focused on housing and mental health in our schools, we can't forget basic freedoms like reproductive health care. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening. Thank you. Have a great day.